I've felt really aligned with where we are in terms of the seasons. So we're just after Samhain, or kind of that very beginning, like winter, going into the underworld or into the void. That time of the year when, the harvest is done and we're just really like composting things that don't serve us anymore. I was thinking a lot about that. So
Mm.
I kind of made this conscious choice. There's this idea of a podcast that I've really wanted to do for a few years. And I've interviewed a couple of people, and it's just never really took off like from the ground. And yet, the gathering space is this beautiful like organism that has just erupted. Um, and it's funny how there's like a bit of ego, like, oh, I've told people I'm going to do a podcast, and like I can't turn around and not be successful. But actually just today going, you know what? I think I need to, any energy that I'm even just like a little bit holding on to, like, well, that actually isn't happening. No matter what I do, I can't get traction. I just can't even get my act together to do anything with it, right? So today I just consciously made the decision to let that be, which is, fine, actually, not a big deal. Um, and it got me thinking about the gathering space and about how it's just like it just is so much bigger than you and me, and how it's just, it was an idea that you and I had that just absolutely blossomed and grew just so quickly and so organically. And the people that we speak about it to, there's just this really strong, resounding, like, yes, from everyone I speak to. And I went to a college of midwives thing this week, and just someone I've never met before from the other side of Sydney was like, oh, are you from the gathering space? And it was just like, oh, yes, like that's so crazy that you know me from that. Um, and she's a midwife herself, and she was just like, oh, I just love the concept. And I think, when something comes up like that and just starts growing like that and has such a response, it just proves what you and I know is this is the need. This is actually the thing that is needed right now, and that women know what they need, and midwives know women need, and women are asking for it. And anyway, I guess I'm just excited to be putting my energy and time there, because it feels so just gentle and just obvious. Yeah. So that's what I was
Mm.
thinking.
I love that. And it's really good that you highlighted. And what popped into my head was, isn't it so freeing when because it all happens inside of your own little head, right? That it is this
Yep.
podcast that is meant to be successful, and you're meant to prove all these things that no one really
Yep.
actually are thinking about. But in
True.
your mind, it's been taking up space for a while.
Yep.
And the freedom I find that comes with going, oh, actually, what's true? What's
Mm.
actually happening?
Mm.
And we can free ourselves from this prison that we can create in our minds. And it is, I think, extra potent when we use like the seasons and the cycles within and the cycles without, in terms of going, actually, is it realistic to hang on to this concept during this time of my life? Like maybe if we're coming into summer, maybe you'd be like, oh, now's the time. And it did take a bit of flight over summer, your podcast,
Yep.
meaning that's when you started to record, right?
Yep.
So maybe it's just like it's a slow birth.
Yeah. But also I think also coming to acceptance, and like you and I, we both have a lot of ideas. Like we're both like, well, that's a cool idea and that's a cool idea. And it's just we're never without another idea of something we want to do.
It's insane.
It's actually a bit nuts. Um, but it's also okay if that's not a thing. Like it actually doesn't matter. Like
Mm.
just
Oh yeah,
detach my sense of like, oh well, now I've said I'm going to do something, so if I don't do it, I've somehow failed. Like that's actually not real.
not real at
And
all.
just actually focus on the gathering space and the work we're doing individually, as a midwife and as a doula and a naturopath.
Mm. Which I
Um,
was reflecting on it too. The work we
mm,
do for births and for the women that we support takes up 85% of my,
yeah,
you know, and it's the same for you. And because it isn't like it's been a lot. Like, can we just, it's been so much. And it came out of nowhere, the gathering space.
yeah.
So, to everyone who's listening, welcome. We have opened a space that is called the gathering space, and we'll talk about it today. Because there's a lot to say, actually.
Mm,
And we're really, really
mm,
proud. We really
mm,
are deeply in love, right, with this space that we have found and co created and are now nurturing. But it's been a fucking ride.
mm,
And yes, we had this idea, we had spoken together about just wouldn't it be nice to have a space to actually just see our clients from, or have the women come to this place maybe sometimes, or just simplify the time that we spend on the road seeing people. And that's kind of where it came from, and then boom, it was there, and it all turned around within days.
mm-hmm.
And for me, it happened in the exact same month as moving house as well, buying a house, moving house. And yeah, that wasn't particularly fun. That was really hard.
Mm,
And births on top of that, of course. So that, yeah, it's been intense. But I think why I'm saying this is that it's been so organic. Like it was like it had to just, it just had to be born right then and there. This was the
mm,
time. And for so many moments for us both, we had to be like, is this, are we insane? Like, is this, should we proceed? This feels like, are we crazy? And
yes.
luckily, as you said, when we speak to people about it, it's such genuine excitement for it and with us in the process of this developing.
Mm,
So it's been really profound, actually. It's been really wild to experience something that just had to be born.
mm,
And, but I thought we should take some time because we haven't been doing these sessions for a while for this exact
mm,
reason.
mm,
Now things are settling down. We've had our opening. The gathering space is running its own show now, and it's functioning and it's lovely. Um, but we haven't really had the time to really fully publicly talk about, I suppose, in this forum, talk about the space and what our vision is. So should
mm.
we do that?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Um, do you have thoughts to start with? Have you got something bubbling up?
Well, I suppose initially the space was a space for us to simplify our lives. That's where the intent came from. A place in Sydney, because most of our clients are in Sydney, in the
Mm,
eastern suburbs. And we both drive a lot. So we just thought maybe a portion of the women we support can come to us,
mm.
maybe for the early
Yep.
prenatals or whatever. So that's what's happening as a baseline. We have a lot of women coming in for their prenatal care with you and with me. I see
Yep.
my clinic clients there. So all my nutrition and herbal medicine is happening in there now, which for me has been such a wonderful returning back home, because I used to have a clinic
Mm,
space years ago, and then COVID hit and wah, 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 and everything has been online, which has also been fine. But it's so nice to have people come to me in person,
mm,
and I can make up the herbs. And naturopathy is so much about what does the person feel like? What's the skin
mm,
tone? What's the quality of their tongue and their sclera? And what are their nails doing? Like all of this matters so much to me in that whole consultation. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is why it's meant to be face to face.
yeah.
But on top of this, we are also creating circles and workshops. And we've had some lovely, lovely practitioners rent the room for their offerings. So lots happening. But that's sort of the
Mm,
baseline, is that we're seeing our clients and supporting our women in there.
mm,
But there are circles coming up. So maybe we can talk about that as well.
mm. And yeah, because uh, I think when we initially started talking about, wouldn't it be great if there was a place, that we could both kind of work from. Um, that might have been the catalyst for this space, but it certainly isn't the foundation. Like it's definitely the thing that got us thinking there and moving there, but I think it's become very evident very quickly that what we're actually seeking is to co-create with the community a space that women can just take a big, big breath,
Big
you know, a
exhale,
space
wasn't
where
it?
a big exhale. Yeah. Just that sense of going into a place and going, you know, and we know that you and I, as much as we may have, you know, experiences, got 9 daughters amongst us. I'm a midwife, you're a doula, you're a herbalist. We've both been around the sticks for long enough, but by no means are we an expert in other women's lives. And we have such a strong, both of us together, such a strong philosophy of women really being in the center of their care and the center of their lives, and in community, and in particularly in a community of women. I know it's something that we both need for ourselves, and truly believe that that's how we can thrive, right? And so it became very obvious that this wasn't just going to be a clinic. This was going to be a space that was about women and all the different things that they need. So I know that you've held plenty of circles in your lifetime. I have as well. It became really obvious, like, oh, great, I can do a pregnancy circle there because I haven't had a space to do that for a little while. And that, of course, is just heaven every single time. Um, you know, that is a space that I'm just love being in, where we have women come together at any stage in pregnancy. And it's not like birth education, like women aren't learning how to give birth because they don't need to learn how to give birth, but there is a lot of benefit in meeting with other women at various stages of their pregnancy, and, you know, really unpacking the internal work and internal process of preparing to give birth, preparing to be a mother. Um, you know, we talk about addressing fears and getting in touch with our power, and, you know, thinking of birth as a hero's quest, and reframing a lot of the stuff that my dog's next to me, a lot of stuff that I think that we know. And I think that a lot of women are like, um, they're like, oh, that feels right. But where do we have a space to sit with that? Where is the village that women can unpack that with? And unfortunately, it's hard to find. You know, a lot of those spaces are very, very noisy with like quite external matters. You know, like, well, are you going to get the baby's room ready? And like, what are you going to do for pain relief? And, you know, like all these other kind of questions that reduce the woman's experience to a very, very physical one. But like anyone who's ever experienced the birth of their own child or someone else's child knows that that's one of the levels, but it's not all of it. Yeah, I think there's a great disservice when we try to detach that transformational experience that goes along with birth. So that's exciting. So having a space where women come and can just be, you know, I'm not telling them what to do and how to do it. And other women are not, we're not giving advice to each other, you know. And I think sometimes women's spaces can be, you know, not as healthy, and
Mhm.
there can be a lot of, you know, judgment that wherever it comes from, it's, you know, it's quite hard to move away from. So it is facilitated in a gentle and loving way, so that women can come, and, you know what, we don't all have to be heading down the same path. Like, we can actually be finding our own way through this. And your experience isn't invalidating someone else's, and vice versa. So two people may come with very different ideas about what they need, or want to prepare or process or work through or whatever it is. And there's a lot of familiarity, and there's a lot of like, oh, that sounds right, that sounds familiar, that's what I was thinking. There's a lot of that, but there's also like a huge space for, um, well, that might work for you, but what is my intuition telling me that I need? And a lot of honoring and respecting that that woman is the expert in her own body, you know. And as a community, we have ideas, but it doesn't mean that there's the right way for this or right way for that. So that's a bit of a ramble about the pregnancy circle, but um, I guess what it is it highlights that deeper level that we're trying to create and co-create and offer, um, the community, and encourage and invite women to come and create what they need. And we're just excited to be here for it, I think.
Mm.
And so obviously I am facilitating some pregnancy circle, and you have your nesting circle. So do you want to talk a bit to what that looks like?
Mm. Yeah. So that's, I guess, my take on a mother's group,
Mm,
which in our culture already exists, meaning mothers groups are quite, you know, you get discharged from the hospital and you get contacted by the health nurse and allocated into a mother's group and all that. So it's already existing, but this is a different take on it. In
mm,
line with what you're speaking about, is to go a lot deeper than just that surface level of like how many nappies and like it's tough to not sleep, right? And have, and those conversations are still that, that's still really important because there's a huge need to normalize this very new life that we move into after birth. But in line with our intention for the gathering space, it's really about that, remembering that we do really well when we are together, particularly when we sit in circle, and when we can be present for one another in our experience, in our individual experiences, and not needing to conform to one another, not needing anyone to fit into a box. We don't need to validate, like you said, you have to have a similar experience to mine for me to feel like my experience is okay. And it's complex, I feel it in my gut as I'm talking about it. It's so complex because we're so vulnerable in all of this, right? Fertility, pregnancy, motherhood. But that's what the nesting circle is about. It's about, I'm sort of seeing a chicken nesting into their little, coop and finding their comfort zone. And that's what the nesting circle is about. It's about allowing every woman to have their individual journey. It's very much facilitated. So there is a theme every time that we gather, which is very intentional because, as you said, we are mothers ourselves, and there's a lot of things that we know are super relevant to. I think part of it is not suppressing certain things that tend to come up for most of us and finding a way to communicate the things that feel a bit deep, dark, and tricky when it comes
mm,
to becoming a mother and settling into this new way of life. So, but it's also a space that is intended, like, women can come and ask their questions, and I can support them in the best possible ways, and help them find their way. But it's very much about removing that need for them to seek out the expert, but remembering that they can find their own way and that that is absolutely the right path for them.
mm,
It's been lovely, and it's lovely for us to have a space where we can set it up and we can create a place where, and this is what women say, they come in and they say, oh, it's so lovely and it's so nice. So
mm,
it's really easy to drop in, I find, for all the different things we've already held. It's like, boom, it's there, and everyone can drop into that space that we are facilitating them in.
mm,
Yeah, can't wait to grow it and just let it
mm,
unfold. But there's a bit of
mm,
a 10-week journey for this mothers group and different topics every time. And every time I've had it, women have said the most profound things, actually. It's a beautiful thing to witness,
mm.
just them having their experience, which I
Yeah.
think is really important.
I think, and it's, I guess, I mean, yes, it is. And I think something you and I have always connected with is, I think for us, we both have had our own lived experiences as well as supporting women. Um, and I guess, I don't know if I don't think intolerance is the correct word, but I'm trying to find the right way to articulate, like, we just know that there's so much more, right? And that so much of preparing to have a baby, becoming a mom, giving birth, all that transitional time, all the stuff that's discussed is up here. It's like, well, how are you feeling and how's your baby, and get your stretch marks sorted, and is your baby going to be safe and healthy? Are you going to survive? Low bar, by the way. And then postnatally, it's just like, what's the poo like? Is your baby sleeping? And have you got your body back as though your body's gone somewhere, which is bullshit. So, and like, that's just like so noisy. And I know that in our individual practices, like, we definitely try and I think do really work hard at bringing a holistic lens to the care that we give, and give space and give time, and create a feeling of safety and security for women to you don't have to have a big, deep, emotional, like cathartic experience every time, but just safety that whatever it is, sometimes it's great joy, sometimes it's grief, sometimes it's both of those things at the same time, which is super interesting. Um, and I guess I think, I think we had this conversation at some point is like, we're so busy, like you and I both individually, that we're kind of at that critical mass where I can't provide that care one to one to any more people. Like it's just like this is as many
Mm.
people as I can care for. And I definitely know that the excitement is now, well, if we can create these spaces where we can give the same level of care and the same depth and the same spaciousness to more people. Like we're not just working in the one-on-one anymore. We're able to, and we consciously talk about keeping the groups small as well. So we're not looking to have 100 people, right? Because at a time, maybe multiple groups, but not huge groups, because we want there to be enough space for every single person to be seen and heard and have a space to, you know, experience what they need to. So, but it's exciting to be able to, I guess, open up that sphere a little bit wider and offer the care that we want to provide to more people. And that's
Mm.
a way that we can do that.
Mm. And I've really realized that this, we call it, it's a remembering, right? It's
Mm,
deeply, deeply foreign. No, not deeply foreign. It's just very foreign to a lot of people, to a lot of women to come in and sit in circle. I find everyone gravitate toward it, right? And they are
mm,
so happy that that is what we're facilitating. But I'm also noticing the discomfort, and they're like, oh,
mm,
this is different,
mm-hmm,
and that's great. That's really, really great. And that's just part of what this is that there's going to be a growth phase, and that's what the gathering space is at this stage, right? It's the small, intimate, safe little nesty energy of come in and realize that this is a safe space. Come in and
mm,
realize that this is where you can take a breath and be
mm,
all of the complexities and colors that you are
mm,
safely. And
mm,
let's try and foster that for a while. And that does require smaller circles. It is a lot to trust and lean into a large circle. And
mm.
so that's where, this is the firstborn. And it's starting small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels really lovely.
It just does feel a bit divine. And I particularly love, like, if a woman hasn't sat in circle or in a women's circle before, I mean, I had it too, like that, like, oh, what do I do? And what do I say? And oh, I'm going to say it wrong. And it very quickly, very quickly becomes very comfortable. And very quickly, I think a level of intimacy is created amongst the women who are present. I find that almost every single time, actually, without doubt. You may not know these other, 5 or 6 women that you're sitting with, and then after 2 hours it's like, oh yeah, and that's me too, and that's me too. And there's a lot of shared experiences and understanding and acceptance when things aren't the same, that, oh, that could
Mm,
work for you, but that could be different for me. And I crave it, and the women I care for crave it, and I think that's the most exciting thing, is that you might be a little bit nervous, come to this space, whether it's a pregnancy circle, a nesting circle, or just one of the women's circles that we'll be facilitating, for all women at all stages in their life. And it's okay if you're not really sure. And it's okay if you're not, like, you don't think of yourself as like a super woo person, or like, you don't have to be super spirit. My dog's trying to come into the screen. You don't have to be super spiritual, or like, I have a friend who like calls it like a normal amount of woo, like just a low level, nothing too crazy. And then what happens is you just have this experience that is just like, oh, that was really profound, but also not weird. Like, just
mm,
it's like, oh, it's like just a really lovely, genuine conversation with enough space for you to reflect and take stock. And then I find it's sometimes the days and weeks following that you're like, oh, things sit a little bit different than they did before.
mm,
Um, and I think we're all craving it, but it's sometimes hard to get from where we know that something's not quite there to what does that actually look like. And so we offer that middle space to come and
mm,
find out what that is for you. Yeah,
mm.
it's so cool. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really special. So yes, we have a women's circle that's coming up, which is probably going to be facilitated by both of us. That's our plan,
Yes.
right? We want to
Yeah.
do it
Mm.
together, and I foresee that circle becoming larger just because it's not for a specific target.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really intentionally, we want it to be for women at all the different stages of life, because
Mm.
that we know is so amazing to sit and
Mm.
listen and be together in all the different stages of our life. So that's coming very soon, actually.
Yes, very, very soon. And it's going to be Thursday nights, every other Thursday or so
Yeah.
in Paddington. And I think about it as I think we were talking about this, like it's it's like you need, you go to the gym to like keep yourself fit, just we're not here to fix
Do
you. We're
we?
not here, well, you might. I've
What?
heard that people do that. I've heard that people do exercise and
What?
things. You do things. Um, so like, it's not a space that you necessarily come and we're going to fix you. Like, I'm not going to come and tell you what's wrong and how to make your life better. We're certainly not gurus. But again, it's just having an opportunity to come and like check in with where am I and how do I feel and what's happening for me in my life right now? What do I need to bring more of in? What do I need to let go of? And what I love about any of these women's circles is that it's I feel like you have every feeling come up. Someone's just having like, oh yeah, I'm having a regular day, and then someone else might really be processing something quite intense, and someone else is like really, really happy. Um, and there's something so powerful about being in a space where you're free to talk until you finish,
Yes.
and that everyone is just listening.
Mm.
And I don't think that's something we get an opportunity to do very much, if ever.
No, it's
No.
rare we speak just from the heart and
Mm.
listen with the ears of our heart. That's a
Yeah.
rare thing. We're often speaking to entertain someone else or to appease someone, or, get an outcome.
Mm.
The sharing and the listening in a circle space with one another has a completely different effect
Mm.
and such an unfolding.
Mm.
Um, yeah, gosh, it's so profound. Yeah, so it's very much not us being the experts of anything. We're just passionately wanting to set these circles up,
Yeah.
and then the women can run with it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, we've both had the lived experience of being in places like this and knowing how it just feels. And it's something really special to come to gather with a bunch of women who you feel safe with, and you're coming regularly enough that you get to know each other on a slightly deeper level, sometimes a much deeper level. And then it's surprising how quick you start to drop into that space together, because you're all there wanting to go that little bit deeper and wanting to be seen and also see others. That's another part of it that's really amazing. Hearing other women, just listening, not listening to say or not listening to respond, but just listening. There's so much shared understanding and acceptance in that. And sometimes we do a little bit of like embodied stuff, or sometimes there might be like, I know in the pregnancy circle I do, sometimes we'll make something or we'll draw something, or there's a bit of ebbing and flowing and a bit of creativity, and we talk about the seasons and all the different cycles of the world and how that's impacting us and how we're feeling about it. So, there's always an invitation to keep it sacred. But like I say, every time is sacred doesn't mean serious. Sometimes it just, is just beautiful, but something a little bit more than just the mundane day-to-day life. A place for people just to tap into that.
mm. And what popped into my mind was that it's often a few circles in that we get the true sense of like, oh, I can listen without thinking. I
Mm,
can speak without anticipating what I meant to say or what I should
mm,
say or what sounds better or what's
mm,
more articulate. That took me many, many, many circles to do. And I'm noticing that also in the circles that I have. And it's not right or wrong. It's just,
mm,
I just wanted to articulate that that is a common thing, because there's part of us that has to undo the way that we're thinking and how we show up. And this is,
mm,
like all this is weaved into the fact that what we're trying to initiate in this place is it takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of
Mm.
time to lean into it, and that's okay. Like it's you're
Mm.
not meant to show up and be know what to say and how to do it. Yeah, we welcome all of
Yeah.
it. It's raw and it's a bit messy and it's could be a
Yeah.
bit wild and and it's just I just really would like to extend the invitation out to sort of say trust it, lean into it, and
Mm.
experience and let yourself experience what it is like to allow yourself more and more to unfiltrate yourself when you're listening, when you're speaking, when you're absorbing that
Mm.
the essence of someone else that you're with. And in the case of a circle, like, oh, you're receiving so much and with all the senses in a way that I don't even know how to put words to it, actually.
Mm. Mm. I mean, it feels pretty cool. You're right. It does take a while. It takes a while to
Mm.
stop observing yourself, I think. There's a
Yeah.
lot of, um, like we just filter ourselves constantly, don't we? We edit how we're sitting and how we talk and how we react,
Yeah.
um, to make it this palatable version. I mean, it's still us, but it's kind of the best possible way of being us, or so we think. Um, and yeah, it takes time. It takes time to, and that's okay too. Like you don't have to come in and be like all guns blazing, this huge
No.
experience. It is about building community and building trust in yourself, and that's okay for it to take as long as it takes.
Mm.
Um, but it is exciting eventually when you have this where you don't filter and you like start, oh, I said something I wasn't expecting to say, and actually that was interesting, and like, yeah, it's cool. It's really, really cool. And
Mm.
to build that for women, I know that it's we all like I feel like I have this conversation like at least a few times a week. Oh, wouldn't that be great? And women want this, and it's like, okay, great. So come along and we'll help create that with you, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a yearning for all of this, and we have now done it. We
Yes.
have now
And
set it up.
that's the thing. I think that's the thing that people are responding to. That's the thing that
Yeah.
like everyone that is kind of messaging us and, responding to what we're doing, there's this big resounding yes inside of them. Like we talk about this for years and years, and it's like, well, let's just do it. Let's just make a
Mm.
space and create this opportunity. And we're so excited to invite all the different women. Like I don't, there's no age, you know,
No.
anytime from young to old and everything in between.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah, this is
something
not
real.
just for pregnancy. This is very
No.
much all the things because to be honest, if we had the younger generation come in, I
Mm.
would feel so at ease because I would know,
Mm.
they're starting now
Mm.
before they're doing all the things, right? So they're learning how. But yes, so it's definitely for all the different ages. And yeah, that feels
And
really,
you're never too old for it. Like it's never too late
yeah, no,
to drop
no,
in. And there's so much wisdom, shared wisdom. Like it doesn't ages. There's certain experiences you might go through, but there's no expert or someone who knows more. There's just different experiences and different world views, and it's quite a cool. Yeah, it's really fun actually to be in that
and that's
space.
actually how we have absorbed information forever and ever is
Mm.
from the different generations.
Yeah.
So it's here, it's the echo of like, oh, that's the experience of that time, and
Mm.
that's the experience of, that's it really is so interesting to allow yourself to absorb that from the different
Mm.
generations. And yeah, I'm so excited about this part, all of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, I just love it when women are given more and more opportunity to just show up with like and just totally accept it and then accept ourselves and watch how that then becomes how we show up in the world outside of that space. And I know for myself, it's life changing actually to be
yeah.
someone who is just really congruent and just this is actually who I am, and that feels so just just feels liberating.
Mm,
I mean, here I
mm,
am talking about my feelings in a public forum of sorts, something I never would have done. The idea of
mm,
being observed, the idea of saying something stupid, which I definitely do, and like being judged, or what if I don't get it right? Or what if I make a funny face and all the things, people say, oh, I can't look at myself if I've taken a video. Like I hear that. And then at some point, something in me was like, oh, whatever. This is just actually who I am, and that's okay.
Mm.
And that has come about from sitting in circle and being seen by other women and accepted by other women, and then learning to accept myself. Yeah.
Mm, yes. And that is actually what you said right there is such an important point because I don't think we would have done this. I said this to one of our teachers. It's like,
Mm.
you would have done this anyways. I was like, no, I actually
No.
don't think that the gathering space would have taken this shape this quickly if we hadn't gone through the experiences ourselves in sitting in circle and really being with all the different parts of ourselves,
Mm.
which is so fun and so painful and so
Yeah.
confronting. Um, but what comes on the other, what comes from that? Because I don't think we're on the other side. Like there's, it's just I don't really know how to explain that, but it's more just that now there is this need to be so like authentic about
Mm.
all the things, and we really want to evoke that and welcome that in others, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's why the gathering space just like had this very intense birth and was like, this had to happen now. The time is right because we can welcome it. So
Mm.
I suppose it's really the fact that you and I are so okay with ourselves and one another. Like you and I
Mm.
are so intertwined. It's not even funny.
Yes, it's true.
And but that's what brings hopefully that welcoming energy
Yeah.
that really you cannot show up in a way that's not okay. It's not possible.
Yes.
It just isn't the space where you could possibly come and show up in the wrong way because we just know that there are so many versions of ourselves and we welcome it because it's actually the
Yeah.
best. It's
Yeah.
actually so cool.
Yeah. I think that's it. We have such an openness and an acceptance of each other, of ourselves. Yeah, you just can't do it wrong. You
Mm.
can only, you can just be you. And it's okay if one week you're this kind of you and the next week you're another aspect of you. We know that's very natural. We kind of, you'll turn up one week, you'll be ovulating and like really out there, and then 2 weeks later you'll be bleeding and you won't want to talk to anyone. And we know that's fine. You're allowed to be
Yeah.
inconsistent, that's fine.
Yeah. And
Mm.
all of that we will be teaching and sharing
Yes.
and highlighting and you
Mm.
know sharing ways that we can work with it and get to know ourselves more
Yes.
deeply and honor that very very important cycle within ourselves and without. And
Mm.
so that's, yeah, I think we're just pouring our heart into this because we love it so much, and this is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing more important really.
That is important to note too, that there is it's a practical element to it of not expert knowledge, but certainly like concepts and ideas and information that we have that we're excited to share,
Mm,
We're excited for you to have just to build your tools and, your own capacity. Um, so yeah, I guess that's nice to know. It's not just sort of wishy-washy. There's actually
yeah.
there's a little bit of guidance, and, you take what works and you leave what doesn't, just like everything else.
Mm,
Um, but I have to say as well, the other thing that I'm just in general about the gathering space that I'm excited about is at our opening, we invited all of our guests to write their intentions
yes.
for the space. And what I felt and I still we'll read them out one day soon-ish. We'll start to share them all. Um, but what I felt was this overwhelming shared vision from every single person that was there. And the dreams they were dreaming were big. We're not just like, oh, we want to have a nice clinic where people come and feel comfortable. Why are we doing this? Every single person who came was having the same, you know, kinds of intentions. And we want women to feel safe, and we want women to have beautiful births, and we want women to feel confident women, like even if it's got nothing to do with giving birth. Like, we offer a certain kind of skills and information. The other practitioners who come and work out of the gathering space have their own skills, and but it's all about women coming and taking the parts that work for them. Um, but we have a bigger vision. We're a little bit, we like to dream big. and we've invited everyone to dream along with us, because it's not, and it sounds a bit grandiose, and that I know I've talked to that a few times, but um, it's not a little thing. I don't believe it's a little thing to create ripples and change, and to invite people to feel confident, and for women to have the best possible experience through transitions in their life, whether it's when a girl gets her period for the first time, or her mother supports her through that, or pregnancy, or birth, or postnatal, whether it's menopause, like all the other transitions that women go through constantly, right? I just know that when that's well supported, that we thrive, and then our community thrives, and we actually want the world to be better. And I believe that it's happening, and we can make it. So it is a big vision, but it's exciting that it's not just you and I having this like crazy vision of like this wonderful world that we want to create. It just feels like there are a lot of people out there who are wanting the same, and it's just that you and I had this crazy opportunity and went, oh, sure, we'll give it a crack. And now everyone's like, great, let's keep going. So,
That was,
mm,
it's almost hard to put word to how special that opening was.
mm,
Because it all happened so quickly, and we talked multiple times a day, and like, and we got all the ideas, and we're like, okay, we'll do this, and we do, how do you feel about this? I feel good, and then when it all kind of landed at the opening a few weeks ago, and seeing and feeling the shared joy and excitement and depth of realizing the same very, very big dreams, I was suddenly like, oh, we're not crazy. Like
mm,
we're not making this up. Like part of me have kind of leaned into like, maybe we are just crazy. This is all going to fall on its head, and we're just
mm,
going to have a big old laugh and be like, oh well, But it shifted for me, for all the people that showed up, because it's so deeply a shared joy and excitement for the space, and some were even able to articulate the space for me, like the way I could hear some talking about the space, or some of the feelings they had being there, or the visions they had. I was like, oh, like this is the collective having an
mm,
experience, and we're just, for some reason, the two people that are doing the busy bee work. But
yeah,
for me, it transformed a lot. I was like, oh, okay, now I believe in it now, and it's because of everyone who showed up.
yeah,
I was like, oh, now my,
yeah,
my neocortex could align with what my nervous system was trying to tell me. That's what happened that day.
yeah,
And I'm really, really grateful for that. And I am someone who has almost had an adverse reaction to community. I have always been of this belief that I should do everything on my own. And if I can't do it on my own, then I'm an absolute failure. So I have had a huge process in the last few years of really turning that around. And the opening of the gathering space was like a big catalyst, and where I was like, oh, this is the power of community.
yeah,
It's wow, I don't feel like I'm holding it all by myself
mm,
anymore.
mm,
Um, you, of course, is a massive part of it because we're doing it together.
mm,
But yeah, this is like, it goes hand in hand for me in terms of leaning into this bigger picture, the bigger dream, that it's
mm,
not all on my shoulders, it's not all on your shoulders. I'm very happy to do the hard work, but we can dream big together. And it was
mm,
so, so lovely to read those little notes and big visions from people. So I want to say thank you for that, to them
mm,
people that did that, and also just that really matters,
mm,
because it is it is a really big dream, but it's also not pie in the sky,
mm,
because I'm pretty sure that anyone will agree that when we have supported, healthy pregnancies, supported, empowered mothers, that's going to change everything in the vortex of that home for the better. And so if we're not afraid, if we're not, isolated, if we're not dismissed, if we're not
mm,
disrespected, the only thing that can come from that is a better world.
mm, mm.
And so that's the undercurrent of all of this.
Yep.
But it takes work. It takes work to unravel this. So for me,
Yep.
it took, fucking 40 years or whatever to realize that I
Yep.
wasn't carrying the world on my shoulder, and
Mm.
that I wouldn't be a massive failure if I actually got help or support or had community. It's,
Mm.
yeah, now I can laugh at it. But, anyways, here we are.
Here we are.
Hmm.
Can I just say one of the other things I'm really excited about? This is, I mean,
Please.
it's something that I like. We've been busy. You and I both have been busy, and I know it. Just I think the week before we were opening, I remember saying to you like, why did we do this? I actually have a job. Like, I actually
I
have a really
know.
busy
We have
job.
several.
Like, we're like, it's, I've got a lot going on.
We
Forget
have a
my
family that
family.
haven't seen
Yeah,
us
but
for
I was
two
like,
months.
yeah, like literally, like that's not even. But I have a job. I'm a midwife and I work privately and I've got a lot going on. But and I was like, oh, why am I doing this? And then I remembered one of the reasons I'm doing this is so I can have a place in the community, because at the moment in this area, there are private midwives and then there's GPs and hospitals, and but out in the community, women only have so many places they can go. But they only really find their own midwife if they know about it, or if they're planning a home birth too, because, midwives for the last 20, 30 years haven't been working in hospitals in New South Wales. Um, And I'm obviously very passionate about midwifery care, and about caring for women as a whole person, and knowing that becoming a mother is a normal, healthy part of life that we do want to support and be mindful of. But there's, a whole person. Um, and it's, we've only been sort of just opening the doors, and I've had a few really phenomenal experiences already caring for women from the very minute they're pregnant. So to have a place in the community where a woman can just make an appointment with a midwife. You don't have to get your pregnancy confirmed. You don't have to see your GP. I mean, if you love your GP, that's great. Go ahead. Um, but it is different. It's a different kind of care, and both are fine. But I obviously am very passionate about midwifery. I am a midwife, so I'm going to be biased towards that. Um, to sit with a woman, and it's not just like, oh, here's a pregnancy test and, we'll just do the ultrasound and we'll check in and blah blah. It's like, well, how are you feeling, and how's your family, and what does this feel like in this pregnancy? And um I think just yesterday or the day before, some legislation passed, so New South Wales midwives can now prescribe the abortion pill, so for early on. So there are some women who pregnancy is not the right thing for them. That's actually, it's not a great outcome for them to be pregnant. Um, and so you may now have this option as well. So to be able to just go to a midwife, I think I'm pregnant, or I know I'm pregnant, you know, I'm really excited about this pregnancy. I'm not so sure about this pregnancy. You don't have to go to three different people, tell your story three different times. Um, or, if you're excited for this pregnancy and then unfortunately sometimes they don't continue, sometimes there are miscarriages, and that is really painful. And to be cared for in a holistic way through that, it's not just, oh, okay, do an ultrasound and see if everything's passed, very, very clinical, which has a place, but to also be held in the emotional experience of that, I think, is something that I didn't realize how passionate I could be, having cared for someone early in pregnancy whose pregnancy didn't continue, um, and being able to provide her with care and kindness and support from all the other aspects, not just the clinical. Yes, there's the clinical part of it because I am a midwife and I'm a health professional. I do that part, but it's all the other parts as well that a woman's seen in. That is so exciting to me. At a time when in public hospitals, women are seeing midwives less and less and being sent to GPs and other places in the community. I'm like, great, come to me. Come here, come to the gathering space. And I know there are other private midwives out there, or midwives who are going into private practice, who would love to support you. And so I'll invite them when we're too busy, we'll just invite them to come join us.
Mm.
Um, but I just think women deserve that. Women deserve to have someone who doesn't just treat their pregnancy as a medical event, you
Mm.
know.
Super
Someone who,
fascinating.
Yeah, and that you don't
Mm.
have to retell your story, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, to three different people. And I mean, I know in public hospitals, best case, you're getting booked in when you're 14, 16, 18 weeks. Sometimes you're almost halfway through your pregnancy and you've never met a midwife. And that's if you meet a midwife. Some people don't even have a midwife in their pregnancy. They get told that they have risk factors and then they see doctors, which is, no, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just, if you want a midwife, you can have a midwife. You don't have to
Mm.
wait for permission, for some gatekeeping, for someone to tell you that it's an option. You don't have to have this perfect pregnancy, ideal, whatever. You can access her just directly. And I love that there's a space that you can come and just sit down, make an appointment online, come see me, do the thing, be in the community. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a complete care. And I don't think that
Mm.
is a realized thing, that it
No.
is seen as you have to go to the GP first, get the referral thing, right?
Yep.
And then, but seeing a midwife is a complete care.
That, yes.
And it's so different. It's so different. And that's important for women to know that that exists. And
Yeah.
yeah, of course we're passionate about it, but it needs to be yelled at the rooftops because it's new. Like it's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just so many people don't know that that is what they could choose
Yes.
for, antenatal care. Maybe not a home birth, but there's so many different ways you can have a midwife.
Yeah, you don't have to, you don't even have to choose that midwife to support you through the whole pregnancy.
No.
If you just
Mm.
want to, if you just want your early pregnancy care to look like this, or just look someone who's going to greet you, then that's there for you. And you can choose at what point you've got options. That's it. I think that's the thing that's exciting for me, is for women to know that they have so many different options and they have time and they have someone who can
Mm.
listen to them, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's in a circle, whether it's one to one. That's something we're both so passionate about, and so
Mm.
we've got these different ways for women to access that, depending on what she needs at that time,
Yeah.
so it's
Because it
exciting.
looks different for all of us.
Yep.
And we are different puzzles and there's different pieces, and we hope to
Yeah.
provide a lot of them, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
so much more to come on all of this. But it was nice to sit down and
Yeah.
reignite the jams and
Yay.
and share a little bit more in depth about the space, because social media is so fragmented, or like snippets, and it's
Mm,
really hard to attend to. So this was important to
yeah.
talk about, and hopefully it's landing in good places.
And can I just say, if anyone has questions, we're open to questions. So if there's something, if you've been listening to the jam for a while and you're like, okay, I want to know about this, I want to hear them wax lyrical for 45 minutes or an hour about this, give us something and then we're happy to talk to that. Mm.
We're actually great with questions. We're
Yeah, we're
actually
good.
the best with questions, because the
So
thing
good.
is, we may or may not ramble otherwise, but we when when we know what all of you want to hear, and what is the stuff that you walk around with in your heads questions wise, we will jump on it like that, and it'll be in your
Yeah.
ears in no time. So please, you can do that in so many different ways, right? Like you can contact us on Instagram, you can put it on the YouTube comments, you can email us, text us if you have our number. Wow, we're just so available.
We are so, we're everywhere.
Fuck, we're so here for you.
Like a rash.
No, no, no. Like a loving ointment.
That's a bit nicer.
Well, thank
All
you for
right.
listening.
Perfect. See you next week.
Whoop,
Bye.
whoop.
I like that.